Nice to be here.
We won't, I don't think, we don't have quorum rules because we're not an official body. We feel official though, so that's what matters, right? Um, and we get stuff done, so that's what matters too. Anyway, we'll just have, I think, a relatively short meeting. There are 10 people at least who can't make it, who notified. So we'll touch base, we'll have a short meeting, and then we'll reconvene in a month and perhaps cover some ground in between. So I sent out the minutes. We don't have to formally approve the minutes, but we certainly would appreciate if there's any addendums or additions or edits, comments on the minutes that we could have them corrected. So do we have any comments on the minutes?
Nope.
Okay. Great. Well, let's get started. The county has approved the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan project, which is great news. And we appreciate everyone's help, especially Jolene or Patrice mostly, and Wendy, and the supervisors in getting that done. It's a great opportunity. On the 13th, I just want to make sure that we remind everyone on the 13th of September at noon, there is a webinar for the towns to learn more about what this CARP plan does, what it will entail, and how the towns can participate. It includes, there's a draft resolution which was sent around to all of the supervisors for all the towns from Wendy. If you want a copy of that, there's also a one-page fact sheet. If you haven't seen it, I will send that out to the task force after this meeting so everyone has that and you can push that through in your towns. What we need to do is we need to make sure that the town boards, through the EMC, through Climate Smart, through whatever organ exists in your town to inform the boards that this opportunity exists. We need to pursue that. So if anyone has any questions, what we really need is for towns to sign on who want to participate. And it's kind of in my mind, a no-brainer, because most of the work will happen at the county level, and the towns can contribute as they have information available and resources available in the process. So I don't think Tara's not on, so I don't think we have any other details to share on that in terms of process. But are there any comments or questions? Okay.
Sorry, David, this is
Yeah, go ahead,
Terrence.
Terrence.
Quickly, I've been kind of as part of the next agenda item, I've been putting together a list of town supervisor contacts, town clerk contacts, CSC contacts, and CAC contacts. I didn't know if there was already a list like that that exists that I could compare mine to or consolidate my list with, but if there is, I would welcome that. It's been cobbling together.
Yeah, I think Tistria has a list. Becky Meyer was involved in the convening last year, and so there's definitely a list out there. And Tistria and Becky would be the ones to ask about that. And then there's also the Partners for Climate Action. I don't know if Matt Stinchcomb is on the call, but they
Hey.
have. Oh, you are great, Matt.
Yeah.
Can you speak to this?
Sure.
Did you hear Terrence's question?
I did, yeah. And we do have, I can share with you, Terrence, all of the lists that we compiled of like every town supervisor and all of those kinds of things for the local champs program. But we also have Climate Action Network. That's launching next week. So I wanted to anyways encourage all of you to join that. And that actually has a CAC working group and a climate smart community working group in it. So hypothetically, that could be a place where you can reach all of the necessary people. And certainly we will promote that event through that platform. It's hvcan.org. And that's a place too where you can post any sort of climate or environmentally focused event in the Hudson Valley onto a calendar. There's a resource hub there where we're sharing essential documents and useful tools for CACs and climate smart communities and those kinds of things. And if this group ever wanted to form a working group on that platform, that's an option too. We would have our own resource hub. We could have our own events. We could have our own, ways of communicating with one another. So that is another option. So those are that's out there, and like I said, it will be open to everybody as of Tuesday.
Great, thanks, Matt and Terrence. Terrence, why don't you take it to the next agenda item?
Sure. Yeah. So I sent out that email to the group after meeting last month with Michael and Bruce, and I think what I've heard back individually and kind of in group emails is that there seems to be a lot of interest in putting this event together. And so I think the next step for me would be to convene with any kind of subcommittee who's interested in joining us for that. And looking at the timeline, ideally it could happen before it gets too cold, and that would allow us to meet outside and meet in person. That would kind of be a small, like kind of a 4-week window of time to get word out, which I think would be okay, because I think that really we have a lot of what we need in-house in terms of what we would speak about and what we would discuss. The only other thing I would say before just opening it up to discussion is in thinking about the attendance a little more. And I know that last year we asked for only one representative of each committee, either the Climate Smart Task Force or the CACs, to attend. My personal feeling is I think it would be helpful if everyone was invited to attend, as long as only one person from each group was actually designated to speak when we do the updates. And that way we could still get through all the updates in a timely manner, but it might be a step towards keeping everyone a little more engaged. And I think the more we can keep every member of these committees engaged in the conversation, the more likelihood that we'll all stay in touch throughout the year. So I think that's kind of the only, I guess that's a difference from the email I sent initially. And the other was that we had talked about maybe having a presentation as a highlight of that convening, since then, I've learned that Christine Vanderland is planning to do her own workshop for the county, for municipalities in the county later on this fall. And so between that and I think the Taconic Creek watershed, or Headwaters watershed plan will also have its own kind of outreach meeting. I thought that we could really just focus on the work that the task force has done, as well as highlight a couple of the town's work as well. I know Ankrum, I think, just received its bronze certification as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it's really great that if we put this together and we kind of keep everyone apprised of each other's actions and how those actions can piggyback off of each other, we could be great. I'm open to any questions if people have questions or comments, or I don't know if we want to kind of vote on this or how we would like to proceed.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I mean, do we want to pick a date right now, or is that a subcommittee thing? Because if we're going to try to do it in the next month, we should probably, the first step is to pick a date and a location, I would think. Maybe we should do it today. I don't know what you think, whether we should do it today or do it in a subcommittee, but the subcommittee should meet this week if there is one. So.
Yeah, I agree. We should meet soon. I think in terms of the date, what we should probably do is we should look at all of the calendars to see what committees are meeting when, so that we're not double booking on what's already on the calendar.
It's kind of a futile exercise. I've been involved with that a few times. I think we just have to pick a day to do it, because I mean, I don't think you're going to find a day that's good for everybody.
Question. I do think, yeah, subcommittee makes a lot of sense, and so we can, whoever wants to participate, hopefully we'll take take names in a minute, but we can get rolling on that, and then they can figure out what date makes the most sense. But a question is, does it need to happen outside? Are we limited to that? Could we convene somewhere in a large space with mandatory masks? I understand there are different vulnerabilities in the population, but for many of us, we've started to meet again regularly. It's kind of, I don't expect we'll be not meeting in person over the winter this winter, but things may change. So I'm just curious if there's a tolerance, or if we can not be limited to the next month in case it takes a little longer to organize.
Personally, I'd be open to that. I don't know how others feel.
I'm fine with meeting in September or October, as long I teach in the evenings. So, but that's me personally. But yeah, as long as we get a date, Germantown's ready to be involved.
Can we get a venue that is large enough to host? I don't know how many people were. I mean, we had a lot of people on that call last year. Might be as many as could be 100 people. If we invite 50 people, could be 100 if we do what you're suggesting, which I agree with, which is let people come and just designate a spokesperson. Meeting in person is really important, I think, for so many reasons, especially a meeting like this where people don't know each other, as a chance for networking. We could have small group breakouts, which are much more productive, I think, in person. So just something maybe to kick to the subcommittee to consider.
Yeah, Dave, one thought is Basilica Hudson. We're hosting, here's a plug also for an event on September 15th. We're hosting a climate gathering and launching the network on the 15th at Basilica from 4 to 7 p.m. So that's one chance for anyone who wants to come together and meet other people who are working on climate action in the Hudson Valley. But they're very open to hosting those kinds of events. They really want Basilica to be really focused on climate action. So I'd be happy to talk to Melissa and see if you all think that's a good choice. I'd be happy to talk to her and ask her if she'd be open to that.
Sure.
I think that's a great choice. Great venue, big space, a good alignment of organizations, central location. So that would be great, Matt. Who wants to join this? Who wants to work with Terrence on organizing this?
I will.
I will
Okay.
too.
Great. Bruce and Matt, anyone else? That's great. I mean, those are some movers and shakers right there. So I think you're gonna get a lot done quickly.
Terrence, I'm gonna be, if we could have the meeting either next Tuesday or Wednesday, because I'm gonna be away for a week starting Thursday.
Yeah, I'll send out an email after this and we'll find a time next week.
And
Okay.
I think, are we all in Chatham actually during the day?
I can be in Chatham anytime during the day if we want to meet in
Oh,
person next Tuesday,
so-
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. Yeah, we'll find a time. I'm kind of back and forth, and it's like the beginning of school next week, so it's always a crapshoot. But we'll figure it out.
Right.
Not for me, but my 6-year-old.
Yep. I know how that goes. My kids started this week. It's a game changer.
All right. Anything else on that, the roundtable? Oh, great. So Matt just put in the chat this event they're hosting at the launch of the Climate Network at Basilica on the 15th. That's the first time I had heard about it, so I assume that's the
Oh,
case.
good. We got to get the word out more then. But yeah,
Yeah.
but please do come, because we're really, it's, yes, we're launching the network. There's the link to that, but it's really as much about just trying to bring people together. We're going to be doing these quarterly.
That's great.
So that's just keep those on your radar.
So can Matt, can people on this call and in our working group or task force send that out freely to
Yeah,
others?
please, of course. Yeah, there's obviously there's no cost to attend. We want to get as many people there as possible. It's the same thing with the network. Anyone who's committed to actually climate action in the Hudson Valley, then this is the place for you. And what we're really trying to do is address a lot of the inefficiencies and duplication that's happening, and get local committees and all of the volunteers collaborating, or at least sharing resources, so that we can work more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, that's great. And that's exactly what this roundtable event is trying to do. And it sounds like there'll be multiple opportunities this fall for people to gather and share ideas and coordinate, which is what we need. So very exciting, a lot of energy there. All right, let's move on. I don't have a community solar update other than the fact that at our last meeting, and Kara's not on, and Wendy's not on. At our last meeting, we talked about ways that we could reach out in Hudson and really focus on low and moderate income households. And I have reached out to a number of people, organizations, just this week because I was away. So I haven't heard back much yet in terms of events that are coming up in the next month or two in the fall. Michael, it sounds like, has something to add, which is, I didn't know you were going to be on, Michael. So this is a nice bonus.
Neither did I, so it's a surprise to both of us.
Go ahead.
But Kara and I met last week, and I provided her with a list of all of the things that are going to be going on in Hudson, as well as a contact list for all of the people that we thought would be entrees into the communities that we're trying to reach. So she's equipped, and she then, I think the next day, went on to a meeting with her marketing manager to organize around that material.
That's great. So I'll touch base with Kara to see if what types of events they're thinking about working on, and if there is a need for more support volunteers from this group. But that's fantastic to hear. And does anyone else have any updates on Matthew?
I've been trying to reach out to the farmers markets, but it's been radio silence. And I don't know if I have the wrong person or what. I'm going to keep trying on that end, the Hudson Farmers Market in particular. So Michael, I don't know if you have if that was included in those contacts that Tara.
No, I don't think that was part of my list.
Okay, I'll keep trying, but I've been given a number of emails, but so far no one has responded. So I'm going to have to do something in person, it seems like, to get a response. So
Very good.
Thanks for following up there.
Sure.
Brenda.
I just had a question. We had talked about providing some kind of written piece for DSS or Columbia Opportunities. Did we come up with something to be used for that purpose?
No, not yet. We did talk about that. Do you think the website is sufficient, or you think we need something written?
No,
Okay.
I think we need a handout for people that are coming in for services,
Right.
because those are the part of the communities that are not being reached.
Right.
So the other thing I wanted to report is our community solar campaign with Ampion incentives sunset at the end of August, and we were talking about the fact that we were going to continue, even though there was not an incentive, but continue to market this, but in a more limited way. And the reason it was suggested that we market in a more limited way is I understand there's a piece of legislation that's moving through the assembly right now it's called an opt-out piece, so that towns could write a local law in which everybody in their town would automatically be part of a community solar plan unless the town chose to opt out. And in the event, and that is apparently, this is something that the community solar providers have been working on for months, if not years. And they see what he described as a very promising September. They're hoping to have a decision on this in September. So I think it'll still have to move to the New York State Senate. I can't imagine, I don't know what'll happen there, but I can't imagine that the governor would not be in favor of this. But it's just something for us to keep in mind that, the landscape for this may be changing.
Yeah. How does that work? There's an opt-out for, so every town would automatically be
Part of a community solar plan, unless the town chose not to opt out of, and unless the town chose not to write a local law that would allow that to happen.
Right. And then what would that provide? What opportunities would that provide specifically for residences and businesses in those towns that are part of the campaign?
It would mean that everybody would get that savings on their electric bill or their utility bill, and they wouldn't have to go through the sign-up process.
Oh, it would automatically sign
They'd
up
be automatically
free
enrolled.
utility payer or ratepayer in that town.
Yes,
They would be assigned automatically to a community solar project at some
Yes.
point and
Yes.
start getting a 10% discount.
yes.
Wow.
And
Unless they said otherwise.
Unless they said otherwise or the town.
Unless
Right.
the town passes the resolution, the local law, but the individuals need to be informed that this is happening. So there'd have to be publicity of some sort in the towns to tell them that. And included in that publicity would be, this is going to happen. But in your case, if you have some other deal that you like better, then you go ahead and tell us not to include you in our new system.
So individuals can opt out.
They can,
Right.
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 But I think the idea is that the community solar providers have decided that this is the slow, expensive slog, to sign up individually in one by one. And the better thing would be to try and do this on a broader basis and allow people to opt out as opposed to opting in. So
Right. Okay.
changing landscape.
Changing landscape. I mean, and certainly with the passage of the well-named or poorly named Inflation Reduction Act. No one likes inflation, so that's fine. We're going to see significant investments beyond what we've seen, and that's an exciting, bright new day for climate action across the country. New York, of course, has been a leader, and I think there'll be just a whole lot of opportunities coming down the pike in the next, starting in the next year or so. Bill.
Just to follow up with what Brenda's talking about, the mayor here in the village received an email from Ampion concerning this program, the community solar opt-out. I was wondering if any other towns had gotten that, or is it, I know, we signed into a CCA originally about 4 years ago, which is kind of stalled out. There is still some talk about it, but this is a new wrinkle to the whole idea, because the CCA basically was the same thing. We had an administrative group called Mega, who was going to get pricing for renewable energy, and the group wanted it to beat normal or traditional sources of energy. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. The group is still meeting independently at this point of Mega to discuss where to go next. So I was just curious, because I knew I did get this, and the mayor forwarded it to me and asked me about it because he knew nothing about it. And now I know more about it too. Thanks, Brenda.
I found this out, Bill, in an informal conversation. The town has not received a letter. It was an update from our representative.
Yeah, I think it's probably because we got involved with the CCA a while back, and they had us on the radar with other municipalities. But well, I'll see where I'll have to go back to those folks. They're Albany, Schenectady, and Troy. So the big brothers of the group.
Right.
I haven't received anything in chat. Do we have enough solar potential to automatically sign up the entire state?
We don't. I mean, I know, we can't even get enough capacity on
Right.
NYSEG for our campaign here. So
Right.
what's I think coming down the pike with the production tax credit extension, all the other incentives that are out there, and the Inflation Reduction Act, an expectation, and then legislation like this, an expectation that there'll be a vast expansion of solar projects. But yeah, you're right. That's kind of chicken and the egg. But I think we're going to have to see that. Michael.
Yeah, well, another way to think of it is push and pull, that you could put up a big array and then start marketing it. But if they could get a whole lot of people to express an interest in this, well, there's a defined market for you in particular areas, and then they could plan around that. Even if the actual implementation of it was, a year or two out.
I know
or three.
The Ampion offer that the mayor received, they spoke about farms in Massachusetts, so it wasn't even in New York State. So to answer someone else.
And the Ampion rep also spoke about a very large NYSEG project that's coming online. It's been approved and funded, and it should be coming online in 10 to 12 months. But I didn't ask him how many households that would serve. But I think what they're thinking is that between the incentive package and this opt-out package, this would be a way to guarantee business. So, it would just be another notch in the belt, so to speak, to say the business is there and the people are ready.
Yeah. Great. Anything else on solar? I don't have an update on the benchmarking grant. I was just curious if we had gotten that $5,000 payment, but I'll follow up with Wendy. Climate Carnival 2, I think we'll wait. Jolene, and I don't think Tistry is on either. Wait on that, but there is progress in selecting a date and a venue, and the working group has been discussing with Jolene's leadership how that will look, and I think the focus for next year will be more on not as big a climate carnival as we could be planning, and we want to plan for the following year, and more focused on educational groups and schools. But that's all a work in progress, and we'll get an update there's plenty of time to have input on that from this group, and we'll surely get an update at the next meeting on that. I don't know if there's anything else that folks are aware of there or, okay. Uh, and I said this would be a short meeting. I think it will because we just don't have enough people, but I'd still like to keep us on task thinking about what our goal is by the end of the year to have a work plan of new projects, maybe sooner, that we've gotten through the process, we've gotten approval, which of course takes some time. We have the CARP, which is exciting, and we'll be doing what we can to support that project. Uh, that may not involve a lot of our time, but of course, I know we have a good group of volunteers that are very capable. We have the Climate Carnival, of course, and we'll be wrapping up community solar. The roundtable event is a great opportunity to do outreach and education, coordination, but we need more projects, and we have bandwidth for more projects. So I know that we've talked about community campaigns. We've now been through one. We've seen the benefits of it, and we discussed heat pump campaign and an EV charging campaign. Steve Powers is going to speak to the heat pump campaign in a moment. We also have on our possible potential project list doing a greenhouse gas inventory in the county, which I think to me makes a lot of sense as a next step on the mitigation side as we're working on adaptation in the CARP plan, so we can eventually develop a climate action plan, which would be a kind of a broad-based strategy, multi-pronged strategy for how we reduce emissions, not just adapt to the changes that are occurring, to meet a goal that we could set as a county, consistent with state or beyond state and federal and international goals that are out there, looking at kind of where our baseline is and where we want to be in 10 years, that kind of thing. The EV charging stations, I don't know if Supervisor Knott is on. There hasn't been much discussion there that I've been part of or heard of. It's an opportunity that I think may be passing us by, which is a real shame because there is quite a bit of money out there for fast chargers. So we'll try to get an update at the next meeting and see if there's any life in that as a possibility. And there may be others. So if folks, before we turn to Steve, if folks have other ideas of projects that that we should be pursuing, it's a good time to kind of place it on the agenda for next meeting. Great. Steve, I know that you would like to present on the heat pump opportunity, and New Lebanon has completed the campaign or is working has met the minimum goals and has experience with this. Steve, why don't you talk to us about your experience and what you'd like to see happen at the county level?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we did complete it at the town level. We only needed 5 residents who purchased heat pumps, and we got that. Took a little longer than I thought it would, but I think about 5 months or so. And when we started, we had 2 initially right away. And we got a $5,000 grant to be used for energy upgrades at the town level. At the county level, I think we only need 10 or 15. Sorry, I don't have it here in front of me. And I think it might be 10 and you get a $15,000 grant or vice versa. So it seems like a no-brainer. We've been working with RICOR. Many of you may have met them at the Climate Carnival. They've been great to work with. Certainly, we can vet others and get others on board. The more the merrier. And just think we're going to continue promoting it. We've already gotten another 3 people in town who have purchased the heat pumps and love them. And so the county, I think, can certainly piggyback on what we're going to continue to do from our side. So I mean, basically that's it. It's not and not only do you get the grant, but you also get points in the CEC program as well.
Great. And Steve has prepared a draft resolution for us to look at. I don't think we have enough folks to vote on it today, but we certainly will. We'll get to that in a minute. Supervisor Collins.
Yeah, Steve, could you just go in a little more about the rollout, what you did? Did you just present one contractor, or did you?
Well, initially we had three, and one of them I was my personal residence was one of the initial ones that we got, and found that one of the people that we had dealt with initially was very overpriced and didn't come through with the units, and that's why ended up going with Rycor, because they stockpile the units, and so at least three of the companies that we work with said 6 months before they were going to have the units in stock available. So that may have changed now because of supply issues. I don't know, but yeah, Tara has a list of their vetted people, and most of them I think are in Albany. But Rycor, who I found out about through the Taconic, had a webinar, and they're great to work with. I think I introduced you actually to the guy.
But as you presented it to the public, you first said, gave three options for the public to,
you gave two.
to research.
Yeah.
Two? Okay.
Yeah. So you can decide whatever you want to do.
Steve, does this include the heat pumps? Air to air are very common, but there's also air to water heat pumps. Does it include that? Do you know that technology?
Air to water meaning hot water heaters?
No, these are like Arctic is one of the brands that makes an air to for hydronic systems. So like an existing radiator type system, and there's air to water heat pumps that are now out there. The technology.
I'm not sure. It's mostly air source heat pumps.
Right.
They also offer ground source, but those systems are much more expensive.
Like a geo exchange system.
Yeah,
Ground
geothermal.
source. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has any comments at this point.
I'd just like to thank Steve. We had a heat pump presentation at the library last week, and Tara Donadio did her Heat Smart presentation, and then she was followed by Scott Arnold from Rycor. And Rycor to me was very impressive. I mean, the way Scott spoke about how they set up and how they analyze individual homes to see what the needs are, he really spelled it out. And we had about 25 people attend, which was surprising, and
That's great.
on short notice. But they all seem to be impressed with it, and we're going to try to follow up. I have to work on a scoping document, Steve, but I'm still doing it. But
I'll help you. No problem.
Thank you.
And we could certainly follow the same plan of bootstrapping that we did with the community solar. There are very few towns that have done this as opposed to community solar, and there's an opportunity for kind of double credit toward the grants. There's also more available grants from NYSERDA for these than there are for community solar. So that seems like a no-brainer. I don't know why we wouldn't pursue this and recommend this to the Board of Supervisors. I think we have the expertise, we have the experience, through Steve and Bill. We've been through a community solar community project already, and there's no real expenditure of resources at all from the county. It doesn't really require the county to time from their personnel, unlike some of these other projects. So it seems like a no-brainer. Brenda.
I just had a question. Does a prospective homeowner have to understand or know what the R values are in their insulation before they can install a heat pump? I know when we were doing this for passive housing, we sized the units based on the R value in the walls and the ceilings.
Well,
So,
they don't have to know, but it's suggested that you do an energy audit of your home before you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And an energy audit would be available from the same
So like,
vendor?
no, like Community Opportunities offers them.
Oh, you mean Columbia Opportunities?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Columbia.
Okay. So if you're interested in this project, it's helpful to have done that energy audit before you undertake a discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, Bruce, I interrupted you.
yeah, I was just gonna say that they don't need the RV values because I had a guy come over, but they do a very good, when they come, they do a very good analysis. My experience was very good with them.
And I just wanted to say, David, that I know that I believe this is one of the goals for the Canaan Task Force this year. So we would be interested in piggybacking if the county chooses to do that.
Yep. I know Ghent would be interested. I think Ghent would be interested too. I'm sure many towns would. And having an informational outreach part of the campaign, which talks about sources of subsidies and financial support. I know there's some programs, and then also energy audits, community Columbia Outreach, that was called. Having that information front and center and really guiding people through would be, I think, a big part of what we could offer in terms of our education and outreach. We have a very well drafted resolution, thanks to Steve, which I would like us to move forward and move to the to the government committee and the board for approval. I'm hesitating only because we have so few people on this call. I don't expect we'll have opposition, but from anyone, but I would like to hear out what people's thoughts are before we do this as a task force. And my question is for Steve. I know there was some urgency because of the limited grants from NYSERDA mainly in getting the community solar project approved, and we ended up missing out on that grant at the county level because it took so long. We never want to kick the can down the road. We want to get started right away. But do we have any kind of concerns about, other than the fact that we just simply, there's a lot of urgency and we need to get things done as quickly as possible, but are there any kind of functional limitations in the program that would necessitate us to move quicker?
So David, we have 14 people on the call. How many are we missing?
Well, my count was we were going to miss 10 out of 8.
I'm looking at the screen and I can see
Yeah.
6 faces plus 8 faces plus 6 is 14.
That looks like a lot of people. Maybe some duplicates, but Michael's on. Yeah, I'm prepared to move forward. I don't know if we have any, if anyone has any concerns about that, but
Yeah, and regarding your question, David, I
Yeah.
think that the only limitation again is the grants and how many are what, and Tara's not to tell us how many are left. I don't know. Unfortunately, I can't answer that.
you can go to the NYSERDA website and they actually show that. So I'll try to pull that up, but I'm pretty sure there's not a limit. There's not that's been a lot of, this hasn't been taken advantage of as much as the community solar
Yeah,
project.
exactly.
So basically what we would be asking the Board of Supervisors to do, and I will share my screen. Give me 1 minute. Oh, I don't have permission. That's a bummer. I don't know if anyone can help me with that while we're working on it, but it's I will read the resolution. It will take a moment. I apologize. But whereas the Board of Supervisors for Columbia County, New York has previously resolved to join the New York State Communities and Clean Energy Communities programs, and whereas the Climate Smart Community and Clean Energy Communities programs include actions for local municipalities to conduct community campaigns promoting the use of renewable energy through a program for clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency. And whereas a community campaign for clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency is a promotional campaign administered by local municipalities to assist customers to promote the purchase of heat pumps and increase the energy efficiency of their home through installation of additional insulation, business or municipality. And whereas a clean heating, cooling, and energy efficiency campaign imposes no requirement for customers to enroll in the program, but provides prospective customers with information and a choice to purchase heat pumps or insulation. And whereas a clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency campaign is considered a high impact action under the Clean Energy Communities program, which, if completed with at least 10 new customers enrolling in the program, would qualify Columbia County to be eligible for a $15,000 grant. And whereas the New York State NYSERDA provides technical assistance and other tools and resources to communities in support of clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency campaigns. And whereas the Columbia County Climate Smart Communities Task Force supports the implementation of a countywide clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency campaign. Now this was, I'm going to pause here, taking a moment out of this. This is crafted as a resolution that the county would be passing and not what we'll be voting on. I'm reading this and we will modify this to make it our recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. But now therefore be it resolved, the Columbia County Board of Supervisors authorizes the County Controller's Office to issue a request for proposal from local heat pump companies in order to launch and implement a countywide clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency campaign by undertaking the following actions: convening a working group comprised of Climate Smart Communities Task Force members, evaluating competing proposals and selecting the company that best serves the interests of prospective customers, completing the required scoping documents describing the campaign and submitting the same for approval from NYSERDA to proceed, initiating the campaign by publicizing and promoting clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency opportunities to prospective customers, and submitting the required documentation to the CSC and CEC programs for credit and to qualify for grant funding for future climate and clean energy work in the county, be it further resolved. So what we need to do is essentially modify this resolution, this draft, to state the whereas clauses, and then to modify the therefore be it resolved that the Climate Smart Communities Task Force recommends that the Board of Supervisors do what I just read. So that is what we would be voting on if people would like to move forward with the vote. Okay, Steve, then
Yeah.
Michael, I
The
think.
So
the only
moved.
thing I'd ask also is that we have run this by Tara. I had submitted it to her, but I didn't realize she was going on vacation, so I didn't get the clarification from her.
Yeah, there's a lot of people missing at this, and the authorization of an RFP might have people a little concerned. So if you wanted to wait to the next meeting with a fuller population and have that resolution on the agenda, I think that would be wiser. Not
Bill?
that I'm not in favor of the heat pump program.
No, I hear you, and that was my hesitation before as well. Give people some time to think about it and reflect on it.
Yeah, and circulate the resolution too. That would be great to the
Yeah.
community.
Yep. Okay.
I just posted the remaining grants. That's the webpage. If anyone wants to, for the future, you can bookmark that page. The Clean
Okay.
Energy Communities, that's the
And
number.
what's it look like, Matthew?
It looks like 10 are left.
10 large?
10 large grants. Yeah. I mean, I presume obviously we're a large community, so there looks like 10 large.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some urgency there.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Supervisor Collins, that we will draft up the resolution that we will vote on along the lines of what I've just read. and get that out well in advance of the next meeting, put it on the agenda, and let people reflect on that before we have a discussion and a potential vote.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I agree. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it for the town of Chatham. I see there's 21 smaller ones available for the local municipalities.
Yeah, we're doing it in Germantown too. So but we're small as well. So there's some wiggle room. I mean, as I said, I think as was pointed out, like this campaign is not as popular as the community solar, and it takes a little bit longer, I think, for heat pumps to.
Yeah, I mean, you get to get credit, they have to be installed, Steve, or contracted for installation.
Be installed after the scoping document is passed, approved by NYSERDA.
Okay. So we will take this up at our October meeting, and we'll have the information we need ahead of time. Is there any other information that we would want to see other than obviously the resolution itself? If there's any other information that you think would be helpful, then please email me and Steve, and we'll make sure that that gets pulled together. Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Thanks everyone for that. Let me just pull up the last item is task force membership, and we talked about this at our last meeting. We'd like to make recommendations if we have any, and I think there's some names that have begun to circulate around to try to broaden or at least diversify the expertise and kind of backgrounds of the membership, and to make sure that we continue to have really high level participation like we have from this group, which is really, I think, exceptional. And there are a couple people who have kind of fallen off and will, I think, be officially taken off the task force membership list when we go back to the board for approval for changing the membership. And I think it's important that we pull together any names that we would like to discuss for the next meeting. And I've heard from a couple of you with some suggestions, which I think are good. And then I've reached out to a couple other folks. I'm just going to pull up an email here in a moment. But if folks have anything to add on this at this point, I just really wanted to reiterate that we should be thinking about who might be good, and then we can bring those names together and consider who we might want to nominate. And I think that could include, or this should include, reaching out to those people if you have someone in mind, and not offering them a position which we have no ability to do, but just gauging their interest in describing what we do as a task force, and just feeling out whether it's a good fit or not. So let me just try to find this. And then in speaking with Brenda yesterday, Brenda, do you want to mention what you mentioned yesterday, the idea of reaching out, putting out a call for interest? Oh, it seems like your microphone's not working. Oh, your mouse.
I think her mouse won't let her microphone come
Wow,
on.
that's frustrating. So, well, anyway, I'll just, Brenda mentioned the idea of having a formal request for interest, and have that put out in the communities, in the towns. And I think that's a great idea to gauge whether there's interest. Ultimately, this decision is a decision of the Board of Supervisors, but we want to make sure that we have the broadest list of candidates so that we can really cherry pick the most, the best people who are going to attend the meetings, participate in some of these projects and kind of getting the work done and represent us well throughout the county. So that's really what we're going for. Of course, we'd love to see more diversity in people's kind of backgrounds and perspectives, along with their high level of participation. So just want to pull up. Yeah, I mean, one suggestion that came from one of our task force members is a science teacher in the Hudson school system who's very active, that type of thing. I mean, that to me, that profile of a candidate for joining the task force would be great. I think it would fill a gap that we have here and help us reach out to younger people and reach out through the schools. And a couple of active farmers that have been very active in advocacy, and that's another great suggestion, I think, to make sure that the agricultural community is well represented. And if folks have other ideas, this is an opportunity to brainstorm. But please, if after this call, just keep it in mind and have some conversations. So at our next meeting in October, be great to bring some of these people that we've reached out to, not bring the people themselves, bring the names of people who we've reached out to, who we've identified, and who have expressed interest in possibly participating to this group. And we can discuss those people and their backgrounds and make a decision if we have people that we'd like to recommend to the board. I don't think we necessarily need to decide on that in October because it would be great if we could have some time to really get some good people. But I'd like to make sure that we do this at the latest November, so we could recommend names to the board and hopefully have new task force members authorized to join us in the new year. Any thoughts on this or additional comments? We're getting a thumbs up from the muted Brenda. And a couple other thumbs up. Great. Well, under an hour, that's all I have. We have a few things on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll pick it up then. Anything else?
Steve, just want to clarify, are you going to share that scoping document? Can you share it?
You mean the new Lebanon heat scoping
The
document?
resolution?
The resolution, I mean, yeah, the resolution, yeah.
Yeah, I'll share the resolution. It just needs a little bit of work to make it to format it so it's a resolution that we would consider passing, as opposed to a draft of a resolution that the Board of Supervisors would pass.
Right, yeah.
So
And
I'll,
if anybody needs help with the scoping documents that they're working on now, let me know. Be happy to help.
Yeah, we might, yeah, I'm too, because we're doing Germantown, so.
Thank you,
but
Steve.
we've done it
No problem.
before. Yeah,
No problem.
yeah, I'd like to bring this to the town of Ghent as well. So we'll be talking about it, and Brenda's raising her hand, I think, in concurrence, and Michael as well. Unless, interrupt me if you actually want to speak. I think that was a kind of like, yes, we are going to bring this to our towns. Great. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Enjoy the long weekend. Hope you all get some rest, and we'll and kick off a good September. So we'll talk soon.
take care.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Dave.
holiday.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.